We ask our industry leaders what needs to change most urgently to accelerate nuclear delivery in the UK.
Well, it's interesting you talk about acceleration. I think the biggest word for me is momentum. So we spend a lot of time in the nuclear industry getting up to speed, getting qualified, getting procedures in place, lots of administration, lots of spend, quite frankly, without return. So the quicker we can get up to speed, that's great, and some of the deregulation should help with that. But the key thing is keeping momentum. So when we talk about standardisation, we talk about keeping skills within the industry, continuity of work, longer term commitment. That's what we need to keep that momentum. And if you give contractors momentum, then we're quite able to come up with more innovative ways and more productive ways of doing things.
I think decisions about how much nuclear do we want and to what extent does the government want to subsidise it. I realise these decisions are complex, but I think there needs to be a clear offer both as to the amount of nuclear that the country wants and as to the terms on which that nuclear can be brought forward. That's the sort of offer we're seeing being delivered by other countries, and it's very attractive to developers who can see what is the deal against which they need to match their technology.
We need to scale up new nuclear delivery, and the only way we can do that is by the nuclear ecosystem coming together and working in collaboration. What that means in practice, it means working in a shared digital environment.
To quote Elvis, a little less conversation, a little more action. I think we spend all of our time planning and designing and waiting for everything to be perfect, and those are very helpful, but at some point we kind of have to step into the unknown with the confidence that we have the capability to fix things on the fly, that we don't know everything that will work. It's a bit like the A-Team. The plan never really came together, but they still came out of it. So we need a bit more of that.
Yes, and I can talk from a financing point of view. And I see there is three key considerations around it. The first is about having what I call as a bit of a mismatch between long-term public value and a short-term private capital risk appetite. The second is about thinking about enabling and some of the inherent risk and structural risk associated with nuclear, which is about construction, delivery, long periods where when you put capital in, there's a long payback period, which drives the cost of capital really high towards nuclear. And the third is about confidence in supply chain, transparency in schedule, construction cost, ESG considerations for investors. For a lot of investors, nuclear doesn't sit within their investment remit and pipeline.
The nuclear industry in the UK is changing a lot. We've got a lot of new organisations entering into the UK nuclear sector, and we've got a lot of challenges that have, many of which have been identified in the recent sort of task force reviews. There's a lot of regulatory changes going on. We've got a lot of skills challenges that are currently being addressed. So I think the biggest thing for delivery challenge that the UK is currently facing is how we absorb all these changes in what's effectively quite a short space of time. So, we're accelerating towards delivery of new nuclear programmes, as well as sort of tackling some of those barriers for enabling delivery to really go ahead and progress. So I think that's really the nuts and bolts of what the challenge is that we're currently facing.
Yeah, so obviously multiple challenges exist for the sector. I'd focus mainly on kind of within my swim lane, which is around execution, so construction and engineering. And for me, it's less of a challenge really and more of an opportunity. So how do we do what happens well in other sectors, whether that be oil and gas sector, whether that be other infrastructure sectors, and how do we draw on the capabilities, the technologies that are used there so that we can be more successful in nuclear, so we can start to hit on time, on budget delivery. So that's what I see. I don't think it's rocket science. Some might argue it's nuclear science, but I don't think it's even that. I think it's basically how we do big things better than we currently do.